All right, well, everybody's back from vacation, and King Z talked me into watching a really good movie on the flight back. It was only about 2 hours and 72 days long. We're going to talk about Rebel Moon, Scargiver. Dude, I fell for all that bullshit. Listen, you think a movie that's only 2 hours and 19 isn't bad by, comparable standards to other long films. Let me tell you, when half of it's shot in slow motion, it feels twice as long. It's like theory of relativity kind of shit. You know what I mean? It's too much. But all right, King Z's back. I'm going to let him take the lead on this one. Do your spiel about, welcome back and all that crap, and let's just jump right into talking about this movie because it's awful.
What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be back. I'm glad Winter Wolf's back. So we could review this Zack Snyder film, Rebel Moon, Scargiver. The Scargiven was given by the Scargiver. It's poetic.
Oh, God. Dude, they said it in the movie. They did the thing. Yeah. They did the thing. Like, the lead villain's like, he calls her Scargiver. I got a scar from the Scargiver herself. Like, bro, nobody called her that in the last movie. You know what I mean? Like, she's not the Scargiver to anybody but you. Nobody understands this reference. Just like nobody understands this movie, Zack Snyder. Like, it's a meta commentary on that fact.
Yeah, that's why we're back to review our favorite Star Wars knockoff. Down in the comments, leave your very favorite Star Wars knockoff. Or your favorite, if you actually enjoyed the movie, tell us why. We're still wondering.
I got to stop. Well, no, let me stop you right there. Stop, guys. Stop. Comment below what your favorite Star Wars knockoffs are. Do not comment anything about this movie because it's awful. Straight up awful. And I don't want to hear everybody else's misery on the subject. Dude, I don't know what was going on. I heard somebody explain this movie, and they couldn't believe it either. They're like, if Zack Snyder had a director's cut of part 1, and that's like 7 days long or whatever it is, like 4 hours long, right? Imagine if they had probably just taken this movie, cut all the stupid expositional backstory that they crammed into this movie, dumped it into part 1 where it belonged, and then took the entire second and third acts of this film, which should have just been a really long act 3 to the first film. That movie would have been 9 hours long. That's what happened. Like, they cut a 9-hour thing into chunks and just Frankenstein that whole thing into 2 films.
Now, before we go too far...
And there's more coming.
We should let everyone know this will be a spoiler-full review. So if you haven't watched it, you haven't missed anything. But anyways, if you want to know what's going on, you can go back and watch it, come back to the video, and you'll enjoy our spoiler-full review here.
We didn't do the thing.
All right.
And it's on Netflix. If we didn't say that, I think usually
Netflix.
I say it's Zach's this thing on Netflix or whatever. It's on Netflix.
So
it's still in the top 10, believe it or not, which is weird.
Going back to the first Rebel Moon movie, which came out last August or last September?
It was last summer. Last summer. That was late last summer. Mm-hmm.
It was Zack Snyder was supposed to do a Star Wars movie, got canned. And so he made his own space opera-ish movie that a lot of people refer to the first one as the old movie Seven Samurais, where they go and
Seven Samurai.
Yep. I referred to it as A Bug's Life because that's what it reminded me of, and it even reminded me more in this one. And I'll point that out many times over, that this is A Bug's Life in live action.
With the key difference being A Bug's Life didn't suck.
That's true.
Major difference. Major difference.
All right.
Well, Go.
All right. So this one picks up with them coming back to the village after the whole events of Rebel Moon, and you have the traitor who turned on them. Who's a smuggler. Oh no, a criminal doing criminal things. But moving on. They get there, and all of a sudden the people ride out, and this was my first nitpick, and my wife pointed out as well, is do these people know them? Because they're acting like they don't know them when they have 2 people who've been living with them, one his entire life, and 2 for over a year now, and they're like, well, we got food for you, and welcome to our village, and it's like...
Wait, I gotta wave it off. There's a nitpick you should have had before that. When they're going back to Velt, that's the planet that the village is on, they took interstellar spaceships to the planet, parked somewhere, and then rode horses 40 miles to get to the village. Why? Just go. No, because Zack Snyder needed those stupid visuals dude. It's a horse in every way except the tail. There's nothing interesting about it. Like a bantha is interesting to look at from Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like there's something iconic to that. This is just a horse, and they CGI'd the tail off. It's got 4 legs. It's got a long neck. It's got a snout. But no, they flew 87 trillion light years, and then just decided we're gonna park that bitch and take a ride share and convoy it over to the village. I don't know.
When the bad guys land right outside the village with their drop ships.
Same shit. Now, anyway, continue with the synopsis and make it quick. We're not gonna be here long.
And then they get there, and they're like, all right, we need to start First off, she believes she killed him. I did kill him. Yeah. And then maybe I didn't. Fell in right off the bat. I mean, this movie was so disjointed. The writing was so terrible. The dialogue, completely unbelievable. I mean, you have Titus and Nemesis, which I guess they just ran out of names and they needed some that rhymed. And it doesn't really matter which one's which because they are paper thin. They try to do this whole backstory dinner thing. And
I have a special pin for that when we get to.
It just. Oh, yeah. Overall, the movie is bad.
Hold on, that's not the synopsis. The synopsis is they get back to the village, and then literally the whole movie is them planning the Helm's Deep style defense against the Imperium forces that they know. For whatever reason, they just decide, we know they're going to be coming back, because they're coming back for the harvest anyway, regardless of Noble's death. We know the bad guys are going to come at some point, so we have to figure out what we're going to do. So they spend legit, I'd say 2 hours or maybe 2 hours and 5 minutes of the 219 total prepping for the defense of this village, then the battle sequence, and then you get like 10 minutes at the end where the girl who's the key to everything does some stupid shit, goes up to their ship and does the hero thing, right?
Yeah.
They manage somehow, when Titus tells them, we've got the Imperium says, hey, we're going to be here in 3 days, 5 days, whatever it is. They manage to not only bring in the entire harvest, right, working triple time, that they didn't think they'd be able to do. They did that. They managed to mount strategic defenses in this village that involved an elaborate tunnel system that would have made the Viet Cong, like, jealous. Yep. They managed to mine out tunnels, a tunnel network.
Not including trenches that the French would have been impressed with from World War I.
Yep. Not only that, they had time to gather, account for, and train villagers in, like, combat doctrine.
5 days.
In defense of this village. In 5 days. There might have been 40 fucking people in this village. 40. Maybe. Right? 30 of them hung out in the barn with Nemesis. And didn't help her.
No. But we'll get to
30
that.
of them.
But one more. In these 5 days, when you have planning defenses, digging trenches, digging tunnels, setting booby traps, the harvest, they found time to make banners for everybody. For each one of the heroes.
That one, you forgot one too. They also had time to take everybody with them, right? To go drag out the dropship that Cora crashed into the planet 10 years ago with, or 2 years ago, whatever it was, like her initial escape vessel that brought her to Velt. Or whatever it was, right? They brought all the labor and manpower they had, all their horses, dragged it out by ropes. I'm like, bro, if you had parked your spaceships here, where were those spaceships, by the way? Why didn't we just go back and get them? You know what I'm saying?
Because it was armed. We saw that it was armed because they took our homeboy trader ship. And he used guns as they flew away because that was the whole escaping Tatooine scene.
It was Sons of Anarchy's ship that they had, right? They could have tied one fucking cable from that to her dropship and pulled it out in less than 3 seconds. To boot, the ship was like 5 miles from the village, so they had to account for travel time by foot to get there. Like, where did they find the time? I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. Right? Which brings us out of the synopsis section and just into more stupid shit. Dude, I'll say this for Zack Snyder stuff. It's cliche to the point of trope. All of the stuff usually looks really...
It's beyond trope.
I'm saying, right. All of his stuff is like that. Right? But they
visually stunning. It looks
Thank
pretty.
You. This is what I'm getting into, right? Sucker Punch, crap movie, looks good. 300, mixed opinion from a lot of people, looks good. Man of Steel, same thing. I mean, besides Dawn of the Dead, which is a pretty damn good movie, I would say.
Actually, that was a good movie, and I did like 300.
Actually, and he wasn't even. I mean, he wasn't the director on that. I mean, that's a Chris Nolan movie. And Chris Nolan like produced and I think had final creative control over everything that happened there. But either which way, right? So there's lots of pretty stuff here. None of it matters. It's stupid. There's 45 minutes on farming where they're threshing shit by hand and then loading grain onto like maglev hovercrafts. Like, how do you explain this blend of technology? I don't get it.
Oh, I got something on technology for later. But not only did they do a farming scene for a good 20 minutes, they put it in slow motion. Farming is slow enough as it is. You don't have to put it in slow motion. And they don't have no... I mean, we have hand crank things that separate the grain. They're doing it by, like, sifts and stuff.
And hitting things. They were sifting and hitting.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is like stone. It isn't even Bronze Age, dude. It's Stone Age. But then they're loading it onto, like, maglev carts that the horses are pulling. I'm like... This is a bit of a head scratcher. I don't get it. And then when we get up to the capital ship at the end, it's sophisticated enough to have shields, energy weapons, and FTL drives, but it takes a furnace crew of humans shoveling something into burners for power. Did you forget that? Like
the steampunk spaceships.
I mean, maybe that. I mean, how can you? Are you okay enough with just saying, hey, it's a cool looking aesthetic that like it looks cool so it makes sense? I'm like, no, dude. I grew up on Star Wars and Star Trek and Stargate, and your spaceship had like sophisticated computers that needed to manage trillions of variables to make sure you didn't fly through a fucking star or you'd wind up dusting crops back home, boy. You know, like that.
But Cole can get you to light speed.
Dude, I guess that's it. If you burn, I mean... Maybe it's space coal, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
They're burning black matter. Dark matter. That's how the ship on. That's it. Dark matter. That's what it is.
Listen, that's how the Planet Express ship works on Futurama. It takes little pellets of antimatter, but it crams it into matter, and the annihilation causes nuclear fusion. I don't know, but it's like so they have space coal. Right? We're just gonna call it space coal because maybe it's that.
And it powers a super head that does everything on the ship.
Right? That looks at this chick when she's in there sabotaging it, and I'm like, oh, so maybe there's like some cool AI shit that's about to pop off now. It's just a design, it's just a face that like looks at you, does nothing, doesn't matter.
Oh,
dude, I mean, we got rip-off Imperial walkers that come down.
Yep.
They're smaller, but they do the. They're kind of
with
it's kind of badass to see the rapid fire machine
cannon at the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, stuff looks cool.
The battle
soldiers look
actually
cool, the armor
looked
and shit.
cool. I mean, their whole attack plan made zero sense, but it looked cool.
The visuals look good, but the doctrine and like you said, the planning. I'm like, okay, I'll give them one cool bit. It doesn't make sense, but they're just following through on what they set up. The bit where they finally pop out of the foxholes and RPG into the open ships. I'm like, okay. Guerrilla tactics. This is what you would have to do. You're outnumbered. You're outgunned. You have to guile these guys.
Yep.
But after that first punch, you're gonna get fucking obliterated in a stand-up fight.
Yeah,
you know?
one-on-one, force on
stick
force.
And move.
You have to
stick and move, retreat to cover,
fall back, fall back,
and you need jungle for that shit in terrain. Not the houses in the village made out of wood, which are somehow absorbing blaster hits left, right, and sideways. I'm like, there was a part where I think her name was Milius. She came from the Freedom Fighter band from the other movie. Yeah. The stupid black eye paint, right?
Yeah.
She's up on like a building. I think she was trying to snipe down. She was shooting down or calling shit out, whatever she was doing. Something starts shooting at her, and she kind of ducks into like a windowsill. And I'm like, all right, building's made out of like pine, maybe balsa, I don't know. And it's taking hits and nothing's happening. I'm like, okay.
It's a solid
space
oak
coal,
desk.
Space wood. I don't know what the fuck it is, dude. I can't.
But let's get to the
Nothing
biggest
here
one.
makes sense.
Let's get to the biggest one. So they came up with this
break,
brilliant idea to put the grain against the houses so they wouldn't shoot the houses because they need the grain. But
Right.
then they're like, well, if we capture the Scargiver, then we'll go straight back to whatever her name is, Cora, straight back to the
Cora,
mother world, and we don't need the grain. So fire on the village. And then they had their big gun. You have your whole Death Star moment where it takes forever for the big gun. And they have little hand cranks to aim the gun.
That was great.
That was
Right. Like it was like a World War II anti-aircraft flak cannon. They had to like run them cranks just to get it moving up.
Yeah, it's like
move it over.
And you're just there, just cranking along. You know, you have laser sights. You have this huge HUD display, but you have to use
Took 4
hand
minutes to
cranks
power up.
to put it on. Oh my god,
Dude, none of the technology makes sense. That's just how that is. But let's talk about other shit that just doesn't make sense about this movie, right?
Well,
just talk
no.
about that
You
one-
want a shorter list? Let's talk about the stuff that does make sense.
I mean, okay, well, guys, that's it for us because none of this makes any sense. No, I'll do one more thing that doesn't make sense because I really want to hit on that the let's all share our backstories thing. We have to talk about that separately, right? We'll get to that in a second. There's a scene near the end, and this again was one like they did a clever bit that they ripped off from Star Wars because most of the clever bits here are kind of ripped off from other things, as fiction often is, right?
Well, most
Cora
things
and
are
her
ripped off.
boyfriend-
I will give them credit that a lot of stuff is ripped off. There's nothing truly original anymore.
The word is derivative. I mean, that's just how it is. The girl who's the key to everything and her boyfriend, who are now madly in love despite having only known each other for 5 days, take their dropship, rejoin formation when the bad guys are retreating, and fly the dropship up into the mothership. They accomplish this despite sophisticated communication mechanisms that would identify transponders on these ships, and this one being, not part of that team or anything else. They take a smoke grenade, open it, jam it in a hatch, sprays out. That way the mothership goes, yeah, that ship is damaged. Scramble a salvage and medical team.
Yeah.
Right?
Which
get up
could,
to the ship.
which could be a good idea.
Hold on. This is the part where I'm giving them credit still. Cora's on the radio and she's like, we're hit. My instruments are offline. I've got 2 wounded. I'm fading fast, whatever. The flight team, the flight deck's like, all right, we're taking over. We have your ship. We're bringing you in. Medical's on standby, yada, yada, yada. They have, in the time they got on the dropship, they've taken stolen uniforms and costumed themselves much like Han and Luke did on the Death Star when they jumped the stormtroopers so they could conceal their identities. Smart play. This makes sense. They have balaclavas. They have helmets. They've got, blood. They have bloodied uniforms. So it all passes the sniff test.
Yeah.
She gets in the elevator where they're on the gurneys, and at the first chance she gets, single-handedly kills the eight dudes on the unarmed dudes on the medical team.
Yep.
Right? Gets out of the elevator, says, I'm going this way, you go this way, we'll do this, we'll meet back here. The first thing she proceeds to do is leave off the mask and the uniform that the EMTs had basically removed. Like, they took her mask off to assess and like, oh shit, it's not who we think it is.
Yeah.
She doesn't redisguise herself. She's now running around the ship in like beige pants and a white wife beater. Like, no. Put the fucking helmet back on, you stupid bitch. Stop it. Stop being dumb, movie. Stop.
Yeah.
That was, I think, single-handedly the dumbest thing I saw. And I'm like, you took the clever beat and made it dumb.
Yeah.
Why?
For reasons.
But that reasons. So that's most of the dumb stuff, I would say. The battle sequence was okay. None of it has any stakes. And that kind of ties into the part we're going to talk about next with the backstory confessional things. In particular, Tarek and Milius, when they see the Imperial Walker thing, they try to have this scene where there's supposed to be some weight to it where, Tarek's like, I thought I'd be willing to die for whatever, but now that I might have to, I realize maybe I wanted something more than that. Mm-hmm. And then she, to her credit, there's no, like, I love you, I know bullshit, but she's like, she just says, I think, together, and he's like, nods his head, and he's like, yeah, we'll just go do this. And then they just stand up and start shooting their same dumb guns at the walker before the robot comes in and does his superhero landing bullshit.
Jimmy the robot, who became a deer, and then he comes back.
Dude, what they needed was slipping Jimmy from somebody, Better Call Saul. That would have been better. But I didn't care about either of these characters because I don't know fuck all about them from 2 movies. We get the expositional bullshit that you can lead us into that discussion so I can get a drink and recover here.
So from the first movie, you find out that he's a robot soldier that's supposed to be like the personal guard of the king, and they didn't know they had him anymore. But they're pretty much just still around. They have no purpose because they was it loyal to the slain king.
The slain king line,
and I can't love the slain daughter, which there's more to that too.
We'll cover that.
So he runs off after defending in the first one. He has roughly 4 to 7 minutes generously in the first movie.
Yeah.
He comes back for about 4 to 5 minutes in this movie, to include one
does
scene
the same shit.
Where he single-handedly jumps into the water, kills everybody, just taking gunshot after gunshot.
Yeah.
And
because now he's bulletproof.
Yep, and then he jumps out, and then boom, he's gone again. Now, they did destroy a walker on their own. She ran up under fire, though, the one who was part of the rebel group before. Yeah. She got the rocket launcher that kind of fell down. You knew it was going to go back into play the way they set that whole thing up. Yeah. She shoots into it, destroys one of them, like, yeah. And then a second one comes, and, despair. Right. It's just like beats in a wrestling match where you have hope, and then you have the build-up, the cut-off. Then you have hope, the build-up, the cutoff. So that's what they had. You had the build-up where she ran out there, the hope where she shot and destroyed one, and then the cutoff, a whole new walker.
And then they have their little screaming victory thing on the bridge, and then they realize there's 6 more of these things coming. I'm like, all right, so just they only framed it that way to have that shift in tone, like you said.
Yeah.
Like when they did that in Empire Strikes Back, they were just like 8 AT-AT walkers coming at you.
Yeah.
Because it's an offensive wave. They're not staggering at 1 to see what happens, and then 2, and then 5. Like, no, bro, they just hit you with what they got.
The only way that would make sense tactically if you're coming through a narrow passage. Like in 300, they had that narrow passage, the fire gate, so they could guard it with 300 people.
Right.
If you have a wide open area, they're in farmland, field. They would be side by side, just bringing overwhelming fire. I mean, they even got it right in the sequel trilogies where they came after Luke. Like, they had, like, all of those right there, and Luke's out there facing it.
They were spread out against that mountain range. Yeah. No, the First Order knew what was what. No. So the big group of exposition nonsense that we have to hit is before, on the eve of the battle, they also had time for a big party, by the way. We didn't include that earlier. They had time for a massive blowout harvest feast, right?
Yep.
Titus, who for some reason is the main character in this movie, tells everybody.
He's the general.
Well, of course. He says, we got to know each other. We have to know each other's true selves to be able to fight together. And I'm like, dude, you just fought together like all last movie, because the first movie was just basically a fetch quest of putting the party together. Like, that's the entire movie was that.
Yeah.
Right? So they literally spend 25 minutes going through all 5 or 6 of the main characters and giving them all 5 to 7 minutes of literal flashback, one after the other, in sequence, going around the table. Dude, I've never been more bored in my life, and I'm a guy that likes reading up on lore, to D&D, to Warhammer, to Pathfinder, to like whatever thing comes by. I like reading bios and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I love reading power sets. That's what I like. I almost fell asleep. If I wasn't on a plane, I would have been out.
Yeah, it was an attempt for them to make these less paper thin than they already were.
Oh, dude.
But I mean, Titus's, his men were killed by that giant cannon that, they had to aim by hand because he refused to kill civilians.
Cool. It looked kind of cool, but still, it was dumb, and we already knew that. It didn't tell us anything new. We knew that was his backstory of how he ended up in the arena. We got that already.
Yeah, and then you had Nemesis, who cut off her own hands to get the power of her ancestors, to get the gauntlets. Those aren't gauntlets. Those are robotic arms.
Those are prosthetics. That's the proper word for that.
Yep.
Right? We got the Milius chick. And all the backstories are the same. The Imperium fucked my family somehow.
Well, I mean, to be fair on this, no one who has a successful bread and breakfast is going adventuring. Just to say it.
Can we do? True.
I mean, in any D&D, everybody has a tragic backstory before they become an adventurers. I mean, even look at the D&D movie, The Bard. His wife was killed by a red mage.
But dude, they weren't all killed by the same team. Like, vary some shit up. Like Milius in particular, she could have just been a random orphan whose family were killed by raiders and forced her into slave labor in the mine. I mean, like, it didn't have to be the Imperium.
But it didn't link it. They all have to be linked. You know, you have to. You know, you have the whole the with all the red string and everything.
It's so stupid. It's like the Charlie, the Always
the
Sunny
Charlie
Philadelphia
Day
meme.
Yeah.
So yeah, same meme. Like the only thing that would have made this better is if they all found out somehow they were all related. Like that's the only and that's a Star Wars thing. That's a current day Star Wars thing where, wait a minute, your great granddaddy's uncle's sister was Obi-Wan? Oh, okay. Reveal. Like that's the only thing that was missing. Like, dude, those backstories, I mean, they were slightly interesting, but they came with, like, the Tarax in particular, with, like, he's a kingdomless prince because his family decided to fight the Imperium with, like, hippogriffs and shit, and they lost. And
his wife, his mother,
his
sacrificed,
mom committed suicide,
and then his dad was killed. She sacrificed herself to save me, like sent me off world, which we didn't see that. We saw him watch.
Didn't see any of that,
and then he's still standing in the building, like okay, no one grabbing him, trying to pull him away, to get away
like
from
the security detail that should have hooked him, right? And basically, what they're telling us from that moment is that didn't happen when he was a small child. He was just a little younger. Because it was the same actor that they used, right?
Yep.
So he somehow found his way off world and ended up a slave on like a hippogriff farm in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I guess so. That's not that interesting.
When you said that whole line earlier, all I did think about was Spaceballs. I am your father's brother's uncle's ex-roommate.
Yeah.
What does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Because that's what it was.
What you're about to be.
Dude, that's what this whole movie was. Let's talk about how they rip off Lord of the Rings at the end, right? So they basically have the battle won, and then the freedom fighter resistance chick's sister of Cyborg, who died in part 1 at the end, flies in with 8 of her team, and now she's shooting down fighters that were no part of the battle.
No cast
They were nowhere.
whatsoever.
I did not know they had them. I had no idea the Imperium had air cover shooting down. I didn't see them.
They were not anywhere in the battle. They were now. I did see them when they set off their bombs inside the ship and bring down the big mothership. You saw ships like getting out of Dodge, so the ship's going down.
But you didn't see him fire a single shot during the battle, though.
No, there was no CAS whatsoever. Close air support. If you don't know what CAS is,
right? Yep. That's what I mean. Like, in Star Wars, when they do that, them TIE fighters, we always talk about TIE fighters and the sound. They're just zipping and swarming and doing things, and green blasts are coming
doing a full rake on the ground.
Yeah. Nope, not one. So she comes in like she's fucking Gandalf or something, at Helm's Deep, bringing everybody with her, like, woohoo, you held out. Like, no. And then at the end of the movie, they give her, like, the hero's thanks. Like, oh, it's a good thing you guys showed up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it? Because I forgot you were alive. And when they showed up, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? I didn't remember. I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. This movie was bad, dude. It was just bad and stupid. And, like, the ending is dumb. So the ending was full circle as dumb as the beginning. We skipped right over the beginning part where she does, in her backstory, Cora tells a story about how her adoptive father screwed her.
Yeah.
And basically put her up to assassinating the princess that's the key to everything. And then framed her.
Yeah.
But in that dumbass scene, as they try to go all Julius Caesar and all of his guys pull out knives, and literally everybody's conspired against the king, queen, and the princess.
Yeah. Because he wanted to bring peace and didn't want to keep fueling the war machine.
The king did, right. Her adoptive father was like, no, we built the war machine. We're going to stay strong that way. Everybody in that scene, including Princess Bride, Carrie Elwes, whatever his name is, hamming it up. It was awful to watch. But did you notice the fucking band in the background as the shit's popping off? They start playing faster.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It wasn't just the score of the movie. They're in there on the violin going absolutely apeshit. I'm like, this is so stupid. I couldn't do it. I was cracking up on the plane. The guy sitting next to me like leaned over and started watching on the iPad because it was so fucking dumb. So Cora in that scene gets a handgun, shoots 57 people, kicks a door open, shoots like 8 more people. Like, no, it's like she's the chick from Damsel. Nobody can stop one person on the way out of a tightly confined palace. Like, how? It doesn't make no sense. It's just because she's not a mutant. She's not meta. She has no magic. They never demonstrate her as being enhanced in any way or anything like that. Like she's
Just
a
well
soldier.
trained.
She's top of her class, right? But a top of her class soldier is still outgunned 50-1 dies. That's just how that is, you know? So it all goes full circle to the end, where for some reason when they're having their big "This is the Empire Strikes Back" ending, like we're mourning because Nemesis died. We'll talk about her stupid ass death. That was the only death in the entire movie, right? And then
that kills somebody.
dies. They kill Cora's boyfriend, which actually, I'll give them credit for this before I shit all over their ending. The actress that plays Cora took this as seriously as she could. I thought she was okay. She can emote. She can cry on command when scenes require it to. She had that one line where he's dying. She goes, "Why can't I just have this one thing?" I actually felt that. I'll give him credit for that one line, dude. I was like, oh, all right. Like, you're trying here. And the guy that played her boyfriend, he looked like he was in on it too. Like, he tried. But the chemistry was kind of minimal between the two of them. But she did okay. But the stupid part of the ending, they're all mourning everybody. And General Titus, who's been fighting in the arena for 2 decades or some shit, been cut off from the world and drinking himself stupid. Somehow he knows that no, she didn't really kill the princess. You didn't think she's magic. You didn't think she'd be that easy to kill. Well, now we're going to go find the princess in part 3. Somehow he knows this. I don't know. Dude, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, dude. Zack Snyder's got to deal with Netflix. He's making a 3rd one. That's going to be a thing.
All right.
Sorry.
So on to my thing of how this is a Bug's life. First, they show up back at the anthill. They're greeted by the new leader of the village, the queen, Ant.
Yep.
They have a feast and a party because of their there. They harvest again, which they did in a Bug's life. And then they even got, like, their plan was the bird to scare the grasshoppers away. They did the drop ship and they put it in a mountain way up. Where did they put the bird? Up in a tree, ready to come down. So, and then it was like, we got to get up to the drop ship. And it's like, oh, we got to get them up to the bird. So come on. It's a Bug's life.
It's a Bug's life, man. Everything about this, everything was a set of scenes designed to elicit a response that they didn't earn. Like we mentioned, the Tarak and the Milius, like, we'll die together thing was stupid. Titus is running up, firing on the move at point blank ranges, and like nobody's wounded. There's not a single wound incurred by any of our main cast in any meaningful way,
other than
except the
Nemesis.
very end by Nemesis, and then by her boyfriend who got wounded by Noble. Is that what happened?
Yeah. He got shot by Noble there at the end when they're doing the
and
whole
then she got him in
fight
the
on the ship, the whole falling down scene.
So they steal that from Revenge of the Sith, where the capital ship goes completely vertical, and somehow they fall from the ass end of the ship all the way down. While this thing's plummeting into the earth, it crashes.
They have the cheat code so they do not take fall damage. Up, down, left, right, B, A, select, start.
Dude, it was something, right? So I'm thinking this too. I'm like, all right, so they fall, they do the Donkey Kong thing all the way down the ship. They get out of the ship. I'm not sure how that works.
Once
like,
again,
you might
visually stunning. It had some cool moments.
But like, there were probably 400 stories above the ground where they exited that ship from. Or no, they got in their drop ship. I don't remember what happened. I think they made it out. I think it was implied they made it to a hangar and got out because they were on their ship.
Yeah.
When they got out when he died, right? So that was also stupid. But the one death in the movie we have to single out is Nemesis' death. Not only did I not care about this character, she was supposed to be the interesting sword-wielding badass. Mm-hmm. They set a fight up where the only other soldiers carrying swords for the Imperium were the ones that happened to go to her position, because if they had sent a patrol of 8 guys with guns, she's fucked, right?
Her laser swords.
They were laser swords. Trademark, but whatever. She gets into the hand-to-hand. She's defending a barn that has the one door that they all come through, and behind her, she's got legit 30 civilians with a combination of small arms, bladed weapons, whatever.
And they had like a grenade launcher type thing too. That it was a bigger shell, I would say.
The blonde girl, they called it the blunderbuss. That was the girl had that.
Yeah.
Right. So
and
she
then you have the soldier
patrol,
and the private from the soldier, the turncoat,
who gets punched in the mouth and eliminated fairly early in this battle or whatever happened to him, right? Nemesis engages these 6 to 8 guys by herself. Some cool visuals, not the choreography, nothing to write home about.
No.
Loses one of the prosthetics. And then is like just defeated. But again, they set up that scene where the little boy that taunted her earlier in this movie, not stretching back into the last movie, because that couldn't have happened because she wasn't there long enough to do anything. But the little boy runs out and shanks this dude in the thigh and gets backhanded or throat grabbed or whatever. And then she grabs a weapon and puts the soldier down.
She takes the same knife. She takes the same knife and stabs him out of his thigh and then stabs him down.
But then he turns around and stabs her through the stomach, and they die kind of at the same time. But basically, they want you to feel bad that like this boy tried to save her, and then she died saving him because she lost a child earlier. And I'm like, you had to set that up way earlier. We're like, this was an orphan boy who had no parents. They bonded, and when he was endangered, she rose to the occasion to save his life, and then she died of her wounds. None of that happened. It was just like, done. Everything in this movie is like that. They want you to care about stuff they didn't earn. That's this whole movie.
Yeah.
That's this whole movie in a fucking nutshell.
And everybody went to the stormtrooper school of shooting.
Yo, dude, nobody hitting anything. Titus had a couple of shots, but I mean, we got Tarak out there with dual-wielding hatchets or something. He's going
and then you had the girl who was in the doorframe holding her weapon out like this, not looking, just...
Dude, and like, she was largely... and this, they must have cut that out, because like, the battle starts and you don't see her for like 17 minutes.
Yeah, they don't...
Like, she's just unavailable where she is.
Almost a third fallback point.
Right.
After
Which I thought was weird, but I mean, again, they probably just
tunnels.
cut that to death. Right? And then, like you said earlier, like the last dumb thing I want to point out is the bit where the entire setup in the world building here is the Imperium is so big and so vast that they're running out of resources. Even if we want to accept at face value that that would be possible for a society that has FTL drives and could just grow food on any of these fucking ships. Right?
I don't think that was the actual point. It was that they needed a resupply, and they didn't bring another ship out to resupply them. So they were trying to, like Sherman, where they kind of graze off the planets that they're out there, like because they're out on the outer rim area. So they're trying to just resupply. You know what?
I think that they did say that. It wasn't that the Imperium was starving.
Yeah, the rule of sail.
But even if that's the thing, right? They have jump drives and like wormholes that they can that they could capably had been like returned to the mother world and like could have avoided all this nonsense. Didn't have to happen.
Yeah, well, it did take them like 5 days to get from point A to point B, but I guess they just needed. I don't understand.
Like,
they never explained their FTL system. I mean, it could be like an Alcubierre drive where it's a warp bubble and you can only warp space at certain speeds. Unlike
true.
Unlike hyperspace, where hyperspace you go
then.
into a different type of space time where you can travel, or a wormhole which would be instantaneous travel. They didn't actually talk about what they have.
I thought somewhere that they mentioned they didn't call it a wormhole, but I thought that was the concept that they alluded to, and that's what kind of triggered this line of thinking for me, where I was like, unless it was we desperately needed all of this grain to feed more people that are on this capital ship, which I guess makes sense how you were saying it then.
Yeah, because they kept referring to like they wouldn't need the grain to go head straight back to the mother world because they were going to bring Scargiver with them.
Right.
So they would need it to stay out on patrol doing what they do.
Right. And then this ties into what you were saying yesterday. It's like, they could have just conned her into taking that deal and gone back and taken the grain anyway. Like the whole, like, we're just going to leave without it if we really needed it. Like, just go fucking take it.
Yeah.
So then she disables the ship. And of course we get that stupid ass shot of they fire like a 400 megaton cannon blast that misses the village by like 1/8 of a mile somehow. And the resulting shockwave doesn't kill everybody. I was like, okay, I get it. You wanted the visual of the shot hitting the mountain and sending the shockwave, but dude, no, that's not how concussive blasts work. It's just not. You don't have to be in like the kill range of like a grenade to die. Like if it explodes and there's enough force jumping out of that, it could still kill you, couldn't it? Yeah. Especially if you were underwater. Like that's just how physics works, man.
All right,
I'm gonna rate. Dude, we gotta rate this and get out of here because I hate
I got
this movie.
One more
it's already
question.
Been 40 minutes. All right, dude. Yeah, do it. We can do it. Yeah, I'm in.
What bet did Anthony Hopkins have to lose to be in this movie? Leave it in the comments below. What bet did he lose?
Dude, Somebody must have had one of his grandkids at gunpoint taken style or something, because there's not a paycheck big enough. Like, did he want to just do a sci-fi thing before he officially retires? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just weird because I mean, stuff is said in this movie, and then it's just gone. There's no new point to it. Like the whole thing where she was going to surrender herself. They had that whole moment where like, if you go, we'll leave these people alone, and then we'll head back. And then her boyfriend turns around and shoots the bell that was signal the attack and started the whole thing off. And she didn't say anything like, "What did you do?" I could have.
So he's basically responsible for all the multitudes of deaths that happened, pretty much, because
including his own.
Noble would have including his own. I believe Noble would have taken her and fucking bailed.
Because he wanted his spot in the Senate.
Right. Maybe he would have had them order the bombardment. I don't know, but dude, one poo out of 5 poos. Like that, this was terrible. It made no sense. I know you probably have some ratings stashed over there somewhere. That I'm sure it's in the teens on Rotten Tomatoes. It can't be any. I mean, the first one got dunked on, and this was worse. This was worse.
Yeah, I didn't even look up the ratings. Let's look this up.
I mean, I'm quite certain I heard it was in the teens somewhere. That was days ago before everybody else got to watch it. Actually, it came out. Yeah, it came out a few days ago, I think.
Wow, it had 21.4 million views in 3 days.
I believe it.
Wow.
Because there's garbage on else anyway, and people were probably hoping. I mean, a lot of people thought the first one was okay. It wasn't like roundly crapped on. You know what I mean? It was tepid, you know? But this was just dog shit, guy. Dog shit. We have some actual footage of the movie we're going to play at the beginning. I'll edit that back in.
Critics' response.
Sorry about the coughing, guys.
The website Rotten Tomatoes has it a 15% out of 85 critics.
I called it. I told you.
And of course, Metacritic, my favorite, has it at a 36 out of 100.
Which is hot dog shit.
Wow.
Steaming. Yeah. Dude, it's bad. It's bad. And the worst part is knowing that this clown has like ideas, I was telling you, for like 4 more scripts. Like this is in his head. It's a 6-story story. And it's
Snyder, so you know the 6-hour cut's coming out. So more farming in slow motion.
Yeah, dude, I'm good with that. Dude, do you even want to bother giving this your own number? I already gave it 1 out of 5. Like, dude, 1 out of 5 is a gift. It should be like maybe 0.5 out of 5 for some visuals alone, because there wasn't that much cool stuff. I'll say that.
Let's see. Things I liked more than Rebel Moon Scargiver. Gas station sushi.
Athlete's foot. There we are. Okay.
Uncontrollable bowel syndrome.
Really bad sunburn.
Really bad sunburn. That's a good one.
Athlete's foot. Yeah.
Sliding down a slide of razor blades into a pool of lemon juice with a salted towel. That'll probably be less painful than watching this movie again.
Yep. I'd rather watch you do that than watch this movie again. I got nothing personal against you at all. Dude, get us out of here, guy. My voice is shot, and this movie wasn't worth the 45-minute talk other than the fun factor. Get us out.
Yeah, we've been talking way too much. We gave this movie way too much of our own time. We're sorry for wasting yours by even reviewing it. But if you do like what we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can sit there and have more fun like this every other day. We are going to try to do more. We have some different ideas coming up. We have a big thing coming up with May. So stay tuned. If you want to know what we're doing, hit that notification bell so you find out when new stuff is dropped. Leave us a comment. We want to hear your thoughts. We also want to hear your thoughts on how we can improve. Hit that thumbs up because it does help the video. It helps us. And I think that's about it. Let's wrap this one up.
Gone.